We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 6, and the text for today is text 20. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody in the group who have joined and are about to join Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we hand over to you now.
Narayan namaskrityam naram shaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiriyeta nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate yutam shloke bhakti bhavati nashtaki om namo bhagavate vasudevaya om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 6. Conversation between Narad and Vyasadeva, verse number 20. By the way, today is also Guru Purnima, the appearance day of Vyasadeva. Very, very special day. Text 20. Evam yatantam bijanem mam aha gocharo giram Gambira Shlakshnaya Vacha Shucha Prasha Mayan Eva. Seeing my attempts in that lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words just to mitigate my grief. Mother, you can read the purport.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. In the Vedas, it is said that God is beyond the approach of mundane words and intelligence. And yet, by his causeless mercy, one can have suitable senses to him or to speak to him. This is the Lord's inconceivable energy. One upon whom his mercy is bestowed can hear him. The Lord was pleased when Narada Muni, and therefore the necessary strength was invested in him so that he could hear the Lord. It is not, however, possible for others to perceive directly the touch of the Lord during the probationary stage of regulative devotional service. It was a special gift for Narada. When he heard the pleasing words of the Lord, the feelings of separation were to some extent mitigated. A devotee in love with God feels always the pangs of separation and is therefore always enwrapped in transcendental ecstasy. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I'll read the verse again. Seek my attempts in that lonely place. The personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words just to mitigate my grief. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining that actually Krishna is beyond the approach of our mundane words and intelligence. Krishna has many, many names, and one of the names is Adokshaja. Srila Prabhupada explains Adokshaja means Adha Ikshaja, beyond our perception. It means beyond our thinking power and also beyond our words. We don't have the right vocabulary to glorify Krishna, nor do we have the right intelligence. So it's only by Krishna's mercy, which comes to a pure devotee, that one can hear with purified senses. We need suitable senses to hear, even about Krishna. You'll find that when we are reading, we all have a practical experience that sometimes, or many times, when you read Bhagavad Gita or even Srimad Bhagavatam, maybe if you are reading it first or second time, the material doesn't get assimilated. It becomes so difficult. So at that time we ponder, oh, maybe I don't know this. Who is going to help me? So at that time, if Krishna's mercy comes, you can actually understand what is written there. Now it's common among our devotees that also many devotees don't want to read. Therefore, we heard the Bhagavatam class in the morning, no need to read, but it's a necessity to read Because we are hearing, when we read purports, Sri Prabhupada is giving his mercy in the purports. And as we read them, we'll see it in the right angle. Otherwise, what happens? We go off the angle. Right understanding comes to the Vaya media of a spiritual master, especially the Acharya. Sri Prabhupada is the Acharya of our society. So he gives us the intelligence how to assimilate the meaning of each purport, and even in each purport, each sentence, and then each word. Sri Prabhupada says, anyone who is inclined towards hearing, even when he hears the verse or reads the verse, even from verse, his intelligence will open. And if he knows a bit of Sanskrit, it's very, very useful. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, it said in the chapter 10, verse number 10, Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upiyanti che. That Krishna is seated in the heart of everyone. If anyone who is engaged in satatam kirtanam, means hearing and glorifying Krishna, Krishna gives him the understanding by which the devotee can approach Krishna. So in this case, we find that Narad Muni, he has left and he's been walking and walking, visiting many, many places. And he came to a lonely place where he was feeling that my Lord is very far from me. And out of mercy, Krishna is going to speak to him in the following verses to come. So only people who are chosen by Krishna can actually hear from me. For example, all of us also should consider ourselves to be very, very fortunate, because by the Sri Prabhupada, who is most beneficent, he has given the opportunity to the members of all nations of the world to hear about Krishna. And that is why all these centers have been opened. Centers does not mean that you just come and take darshan or maybe take food and go away. No. The centers are meant so that you can come and hear about Krishna. That's why Bhagavatam class in the morning, according to Sri Prabhupada, is compulsory in every temple. So every temple, Sri Prabhupada says, even if there is no one in the temple, you still read Srimad Bhagavatam. Let the deity hear it, let the four walls of the temple hear it. But you should not have a temple which does not have Srimad Bhagavatam class. Why? Because Srimad Bhagavatam is a transcendental sound. And this sound gives us an opportunity to hear about Krishna. And you find that all of us, those who hear Bhagavatam regularly, it makes things very, very easy to know who is Krishna. Otherwise, Krishna will remain mystery. We'll understand maybe little about Krishna. If you want to know fully about Krishna, then you have to hear. Earlier we read this very popular verse, Shinvatam Sukatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridaya Shishu Abhadrani, Vidunati Shruhitsata. Krishna seated in the heart is the well-wisher of one who hears about Krishna. He cleanses the heart, and in that heart, he puts the portion of the love of Godhead in the form of Krishna consciousness. So, hearing is emphasized everywhere, practically throughout Bhagavatam and throughout Bhagavad Gita. Like if you go to the 7th chapter, then there are 5 verses which glorify the hearing process, starting with the Shinvatam Sukata Krishna and so on. And Srila Prabhupada mentions these 5 verses in the purport of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse number 1. If someone has a Bhagavad Gita, can open. And we can read those verses in the purport, not the verse, in the purport itself. 5 verses appear in one line. They are very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. Anyone likes to try?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
The Sanskrit, yes, in the purport.
Yeah.
Shravatam Katham Krishna
Shinvatam Su Katha Krishna. Yeah, carry on.
Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayanta Hi Abratani Noti Shruta Satam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki Tadarajastamo Bhava Kamalo Lobhadayaschaye Cheta Itar Anavidham Stitam Stave Prasad Tati Evam Prashana Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Ityate Hridayagna Granthi Chidyante Sarva Samasya Kriyanta Jasya Karmani Drishta Evat Manasvare.
There's a small purport. If you can read the purport after that. Hearing about Krishna.
To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lusts and avarice are diminished. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Thus, Bhakti Yoga serves the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of Ashvasham Samagraha, understanding of supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead. Bhagavatam 1.2.17 to 21.
Yeah, it is said, the word you said is severs the heart of material. You know, that bond which is there in the material world, it severs the knot. You see, the biggest knot is an attraction between male and female, or to our family. It completely severs, it means it cuts it away and brings one to the platform of asamsayam samagram. Asamsayam means no doubts. Samsaya means doubts. Asamsayam means it frees your doubts. Samagram means to become fixed. You'll find that as you hear Bhagavatam, then all your doubts will go away. Otherwise, there's always doubts hidden in our hearts, somewhere in our hearts. They may be very small, but it makes our heart very hard. But when the doubts become clear, the heart softens. And in this way, a devotee is able to progress. So these 5 verses should be learned by heart for anyone who is serious about hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, which are very, very dear to Prabhupada. He mentions this many, many times. Anyway, when you hear Bhagavatam, which is a chance given by Srila Prabhupada, then Krishna himself is pleased. Krishna is called Ajita, who cannot be conquered. But if you hear about Krishna, Krishna can be conquered. Because Krishna takes the mercy of anyone who is hearing about him, or anyone who is chanting his holy name. Krishna becomes attracted to that person. And so whatever that person is, he is making an effort to hear about me, and he's taken an effort to chant my holy name. So Krishna comes very close to that devotee. Now this happens not to everyone. It only happens to special chosen devotees like Narada. Now you also know that he's a Satyavash avatar, just like Vyasdev. Vyasdev is also called Satyavash avatar. Narad is also called Saktavash. Saktavash means Krishna has put his own energy into that person, empowered him. Just like sometimes the government empowers some person to do the duty of the government because they found him trustworthy or capable or competent. So Narad was competent to speak about Krishna in future. That is why all the energies were invested in Narada. So anyone who is on an advanced platform can have this facility of mercy, just like Narada. Many, many examples are given. I can give you some example. That when Srila Prabhupada used to stay at the Radha Damodar Temple, and when you read and write Srimad Bhagavatam, because why he chose Radha Damodar Temple? Because in the compound of Radha Damodar Temple, there are samadhis of great acharyas, including Rupa Goswami. So Srila Prabhupada would be visited by the acharyas. And that is how all these purports were written. Directly. That means he was visited by so many devotees. So many acharyas, great devotees in the parampara. Otherwise, how is it possible to do such a massive, mammoth work? Not possible by one man, not possible. So by the mercy of all those acharyas, Krishna spoke to them. And actually, it's Krishna speaking with them. You might have heard one incident in which one journalist is asking Prabhupada that you have written all these commentaries. And Prabhupada says, no, Krishna has written the commentaries. So one devotee was saying, one of the disciples of Prabhupada said, he was trying to tell the journalist, some Prabhupada was empowered to speak these. Prabhupada said, no, it is Krishna speaking directly. So you should hear this conversation, very nice conversation, that even Srila Prabhupada was visited by Krishna himself, by the acharyas, so that all this work can be done, which will help people for 10,000 years to come, not few years, 10,000 years to come, and the Bhagavatam will give light to all those people. So anyone who reads Bhagavatam, the commentary, which means the purpose by Srila Prabhupada, will never go wrong. So, till someone is advanced, on an advanced platform, can have the facility to get this mercy, like Narada himself. At that time, what was the feeling in the heart of Narada? He was feeling separation. Separation in Sanskrit is called vipralamba. In English, there's a saying that the love becomes fonder when there is separation. I don't know, something like that. Like someone whom you really love or like, if someone goes far away from you, the love in your heart will increase. It's natural. So in the similar way, Narada Muni's heart, he was feeling separation from Krishna. And that is why Lord spoke to him, which is going to speak now in the verses to come. Some few verses. So we find that there are many other examples. We know that if you go to Jaipur, there's a temple of Radha Govindji, original Radha Govindji from Vrindavan is actually now in Jaipur. It's the center of the city. And he was the worshipable deity of Rupa Goswami and Jai Singh, who brought that deity to that temple. Now, some years ago, some members or some devotees of Ramanuja Chama Sampradaya, because it was served by the devotees from Bengali devotees, Gaudiya. So they were arguing that, oh, you people don't have a natural, your own commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So how can you worship Radha Govindji? And at that time, Baldev Vidyabhushan, if you open Bhagavad Gita, I think first, second page, Prabhupada said, dedicated to Baldev Vidyabhushan, who gave the Govinda Bhashya commentary on Vedanta Sutra. He dedicates it to them. So how it actually happened? It's a very good pastime. So at that time, Baldev Vidyabhushan was there in the temple. So he prayed to Govindji that actually we don't have a commentary of our own. We are using the commentary of others like Sridhar Swami. So the Lord appeared in the dream that tomorrow I shall speak and you write. So overnight, the Lord spoke and the commentary was written. And in the morning when the commentary was given to the devotees of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, they were shocked. How is it possible in one night? The whole commentary was written and then it was accepted. Yes, you can worship Radha Govindji. So imagine the Lord speaks not to everyone, only those who are chosen. Another example is in Jagannatha Temple. We find that Jagannatha Temple, at night before the Lord sleeps, he hears the poetry known as Dasa Avatar, written by Jayadev Goswami, who was very dear to Lord Jagannath. And we also speak one of the prayers daily. Tava kala kamala vare nakham adbhuta shringam Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Das avatar means each avatar. Kurma, Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar, Parshuram, Ram, Krishna, like that. Buddha avatar, all of them are there in that poetry. So it became so dear to Lord Jagannath that unless someone sang it, he would not go to sleep. So this was actually sung also by one of the girls. And she was treated very nicely. But now if you go, it is still spoken, but Lord Jagannath, Jayadev Goswami had actually woven on a cloth. And that cloth is put on Lord Jagannath and then he sleeps. It's so dear to Lord Jagannath. Now when he was writing, I'm not very sure whether it was knitting or writing. At one of the verses, he felt a little sleepy. So he went to sleep. But when that cloth was open, or when the book was seen, it was completed. So who wrote it? It's Jagannath himself wrote it. So when you hear these pastimes, they are unbelievable, but they are factuals, they are true. The Lord spoke, in this case, not just spoke, he wrote it, and he even did the knitting. It became a complete shawl. So this is how the Lord shows. And everybody knows the famous story of Sakshi Gopal. We know that in the story of Sakshi Gopal, it's a very famous story. And then the elder Brahmin had promised the younger Brahmin, when we go to our town, I'll give my daughter to you. And due to the pressure of the family, he did not give. But the younger Brahmin, it's not that he was interested in the daughter, but he was like, you'd be punished if he breaks his promise. So he tried to remind the elder Brahmin, man, he was literally punished that he was speaking nonsense. So the meeting was there. In the meeting, the younger Brahmin said, when he was asked by the son of the elder Brahmin, any witness? He said, yes, Gopal is the witness. So he says, go and bring Gopal. Because he was an atheist, he didn't believe in God. He knew how can Lord come from Vrindavan to South India? Not possible. So many hundreds of kilometers. So he went there. He stood in front of the Lord and he started speaking. Lord, we were here some time ago, if you remember. And if you remember, the elder Brahmin, he promised me his daughter. Now the village or the town and his son wants a witness, and you were the witness. Do you remember this promise was given? And the Lord, even as a statue or a deity, spoke, yes, the promise was made. He replied. And then the young Brahmin, he told the Lord that you'll have to come with me. And the deity replied that I am a statue, Pratima. Pratima means I'm just a statue. How can I walk? And the Brahmin is very intelligent. He said, if you can talk, you can walk. In this way, he was bound. He had to walk. And he walked all the way from Vrindavan right up to Vidyanagar, which is in South India. and the Lord gave darshan. So anyways, we won't go to the story. So we find here that due to the purity of the Brahmin, the sincerity of the Brahmin, the Lord actually spoke to him. And there are many, many incidents like this. It's not that it is not true. It is true. Just like this Ekadashi which passed, was it yesterday? No, day before. Yeah, if I'm not wrong. This is called Devshan Ekadashi. This particular Ekadashi has a lot of significance for the people who worship Vittal. Vittal is in Maharashtra. And there are people who walk 1,000 kilometers on foot just to take darshan of Vittal on this particular Ekadashi. It's said to be a very, very special day. They are called workeries, it's Marathi name. They will walk singing Hare Krishna, or Rama Krishna, like that. Following the same system as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Tukaram happened to be the disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they go to Vittal. Now if you hear the story of Vittal, it's very, very special. That once, I don't know how many of you have heard the story of Vittal, I'll just tell you for your information. That once there was a person known as Pundalik, and he was not a good-hearted person, a very cruel-hearted person. And he married a woman who also was very similar to him. And they would mistreat their parents till the parents left the home and started living elsewhere. And this Pundalik was a crooked person. He would steal. And one day after stealing, he tried to run away from the constables. So he hid himself in one ashram. In an ashram, it was an evening time. And the sage, who was the main person of the ashram, was about to eat. And when he was about to eat, he noticed that the food was being served on a golden plate, pure gold. So you're shocked. Brahmin eating in a gold plate. Generally, Brahmins will eat on banana leaves, but he was eating on a gold plate. And after he had finished, more shocking incident happened. That when it came to washing hands, two ladies came who were in white clothes. They were a bit stained. And when they washed his hands, the clothes also became clean, pure white. And they were shining like angels. And the hands and the mouth of the sage also became clean. Now this thief, Pundalik, he could not hold himself. He came in front. At that time, those two angels had disappeared. So he asked the sage that maybe out of some yogic power, you can create this gold plate. But who are these two ladies? And he said, these two ladies, if you want to know, one is Ganga and one is Jamuna. One is river Ganges, the other one is river Jamuna personified. And it's a blessing of my father and mother because I saw them so nicely that during the dying days, they blessed me that in any day of your life, you'll never be without food or water. And furthermore, Ganga and Jamuna will serve you water. So if you notice, they came with unclean clothes. After serving me, they became even pure. Yes, he said, I witnessed all this. So now his heart melted. He said, how can I get that mercy? I said, that mercy is very simple. Go home and serve your parents nicely. He spoke the truth. I kicked my parents out. How will I serve my parents? She says, well, if you can't serve your parents, you cannot have mercy of Ganga and Jamuna, which comes to the mercy of Krishna. Again, he went home. And he and his wife had to search for his parents. The parents refused to come home. He says, today you'll say, come, and tomorrow you tell us to go away. How can we trust you? Who are you? You are just a loafer. You're not a man of a good character. Anyway, somehow or other, he wooed nicely, he brought them home, and he started serving them nicely. Now, this service went on for years. Now, one evening, approximately this time, around 8 or 9 o'clock, the mother had already gone to sleep. The father was a bit awake, so he was topsy-turvy, looking here and there. Eyes were closing and opening. At that time, Krishna comes in and he actually entered the door and he knew this is Krishna. So he's telling Krishna, shh, shh, don't make any noise because he's about to sleep. Wait for some time. All in a hand's language, gesture, So Krishna stood there and he became even tired. So there was a brick close by. So he pushed the brick, so stand on the brick. So Krishna stood on the brick. And when you get tired, you put your hands like this, two hands. So he stood like that. And still hours went by. The father would sleep and he couldn't speak. But Krishna then left, leaving the form of Krishna, which is called Vittal. Vittal means one who stood on a brick. And that deity is so much beautiful worship. You can even Google and see the deity. Very beautiful. Who is actually Dwarkadish. And also is Rukmini, both standing in the same position. Rukmini was added later, but the original is Vittal. So we find that if you are pure, Krishna will actually speak to you. This verse actually gives us a kind of an enhancement that if we become purified, if we follow the regulated principles of Bhakti Yoga, Krishna one day will come to speak to us if we are very fortunate. So, like Krishna, we find that Brahma, it will be explained later, I think in the third canto, or towards the, in second, I can't exactly remember, that we all know that Brahma was born from a navel of Krishna, and he was born on a lotus. And one day Brahma became inquisitive, where have I come from? Who gave birth to me? So what did he do? He went into the stem of the lotus, completely down, and all he found was water. Again he came up, and he started meditating, where have you come from? So Krishna spoke two words, tapa. Tapa means perform austerities. So he performed austerities for 1,000 celestial years, which means millions of years, in that darkness. And then Krishna spoke to him the Vedas. So we find Krishna speaking to Brahma, Krishna's Lord Jagannath speaking to Jaidev. We find Govindji speaking to Baldev Vidyabhushan, Rupa Goswami and other acharyas speaking to Srila Prabhupada. And in this case, Krishna spoke to Narada. So it's not that Krishna never speaks. So many people, they say, how will Krishna speak? Well, how pure are you? Then how much purity you have. Purity does not just matter. It has to be purity and devotion. Nothing without bhakti you can attain in this world. In the morning, we are having the Bhagavatam class and we are reading that Samudra Manthan, Samudra Manthan? The churning of the ocean, milk ocean, to attain Amrita. So while churning, the poison came, Lord Shiva drank it. Amrita is about to come out. But before that, a horse came out, an elephant came out, Shurbi guy, a cow came out, and your mother Lakshmi was born from the milk ocean. So she was trying to choose a husband, and she found a defect in everyone. And beautiful verses. They say there are many people who are very austere, tapa, but they can even become very angry. So what is the use of tapa? People who do a lot of tapa, they are also very temperamental. Then there are people who are very learned, but really speaking, they have no devotion. In this way, she found defects in everyone. So if you read those verses, you'll find that other than Krishna, no one is suitable for Lakshmi. No one. So in the end, Lakshmi put the garland on Lord Vishnu, which proves that Krishna has no defects whatsoever. Even she spoke about Shiva. Oh, he has the habit of sitting in a crematorium. Every demigod even has a different defects. But when you come to Krishna, 100% perfect. That's why Krishna is the only person who can be called Ishvara, Parameshvara. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. So anyway, this verse is speaking about Narad. That as he left the ashram, he went northwards, he visited many places. And there's a place where he's thinking about the Lord, meditating on Paramatma, Lord in the heart. And very soon, in the next words, the Lord will speak to Narada. It's simply to mitigate his separation, to make the separation little. Like in the 10th canto, we find Krishna sends Uddhav to make the separation less of the gopis who are missing Krishna like anything. So when Uddhav goes there, they felt a little relief, but not full relief. Hare Krishna. So time is up. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhuji. It's a wonderful class and all the pastimes that you revealed of Vithoba and Uddhava and everybody. Are there any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, wonderful session. Thanks for your time. And Baladev Vidya Vibhushan and Jagannath himself wrote the scripture, and Sakshi Gopal, Pundarik, and Lakshmi coming from Milk Ocean. So all the pastimes wonderfully outlined. I have a simple question, and I apologize for my inattentiveness in the class. So Mataji read few shlokas and also read a puppet, but I was on another work, so I was just slipped for those couple of minutes. So can you please tell from where she read that? Hare Krishna.
The purport? The purport today was from the first canto, chapter 6, verse number 20 of Srimad Bhagavatam.
No, Mataji read few verses, right? Certain Sanskrit verses.
Prabhuji, she's referring to chapter 7 in the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, okay. We go to the chapter 7, verse number 1. Okay. If you go to chapter 7, verse number 1, if you go to the purport, 5 verses are there in one line, starting with Srinvatam Sukata Krishna, Punya Shravan Kirtanam, and so on. Is it okay? But
yeah.
If you have, you can read yourself. Yeah. Those are the verses I quoted, which are very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada even quotes the same verses in the Markine, the song known as the Markine, when he was in the ship Jalduta to America. He wrote this song. He includes these same 5 verses even in that song.
Wonderful. Okay.
Markine means en route to America. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you. Any other question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your nice class and also the pastimes of the devotees and all the Lord. Prabhuji, Krishna as a Paramatma is situated in everybody's heart. So the devotees, who is the elevated devotee, not talking ours, who is the elevated devotee like Prabhupada, Baladev Vidya Vibhushan and others. The Krishna is outside talking to them, but Krishna is inside. Why not talking to them inside? They're not giving them the inspiration so that they can able to make.
Well, Krishna as Paramatma is already speaking to them. But sometimes out of grace, out of mercy, he even appears outside and speaks to them. So that the doubt is clear once and for all. Is that okay, Path Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Like in Dhruva Kyan, the story of Dhruva. You seeing the Lord in the heart already. Why Krishna himself should appear outside? To give him an assurance that I am not just inside, I am also within and without. So Krishna appeared in front as Prashnigarva and spoke to him. This is very important. That happens only in pure devotees. Not neophytes or not even Madhyam, but advanced devotees. It does happen.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, yes.
Even if you meet some of our very, very devotees who are very steady in our ISKCON for many, many years, if you have any personal relationship, they will speak to you. I can share you one, which I heard just recently. I don't know if Prithu Prabhu came to Eldoret. Did he come? He came.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, he shared one pastime and I was shocked because he was in Vrindavan doing kirtan when Srila Prabhupada was lowered in the samadhi, lowered in the samadhi. He went in, and when Srila Prabhupada's body was put in the samadhi, they put salt and then put him inside. Samadhi was made. And then at night, he said, Prabhupada appeared in his dream. And Prabhupada was not looking old. Prabhupada was looking young and very brilliant, like light. And Prabhupada, he saw the same scene, Prabhupada being lowered. And Prabhupada is actually standing outside the samadhi. And Prabhupada said, I have not gone, I am here. Just to give an assurance that Prabhupada is always there. This I heard, and it actually brought me goosebumps when I heard this. Such a nice sharing of something which has happened. And devotees like Prithu, they don't speak lies. It is, they are Prabhupada's disciples.
Shall I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Prabhuji, when you said that Brahma question, where did he come from? And then he went down into the stem of the lotus flower. And what did he ask? And that I couldn't understand.
Okay, he asked a question to himself, where have I come from? So in order to investigate where he came from, find his source, he went down the stem. Again, he came up and tried to inquire with himself, where have I come from? At that time, he heard two words, ta, pa, which means perform tapa. So even after doing tapa, his heart was not clean. That's why Krishna had to speak a Gayatri. Gayatri means for purification. Gayatri was born from the flute of Krishna. Many people say, oh, where does Gayatri is born from? She's not self-manifested. She's born from the flute of Krishna's flute. That's why Gayatri is also called Krishna Mantra. Another name for Gayatri is called Krishna Mantra. For example, Bhagavatam, the very first verse is a Gayatri. When you recite the first verse, it ends with Param Satyam Dhimai. Let me meditate. It means it's a Gayatri. In the same way, Gayatri was inserted in the heart of Brahma, and then Krishna gave the Vedas when his heart became clean. That's why those who take Brahmin Diksha, they speak the Gayatri Mantra 3 times a day to cleanse their heart again and again. It's like you bath your body with water, but you bath your heart with Gayatri. And then you continue with chanting your Hare Krishna. Is it okay, Madhuri?
Yeah, but there is something I want to ask that when I wasn't keeping well, somebody told me that I should chant more Gayatri Mantra. So Gayatri Mantra gives us a better health. Is it true?
No. Maha Mantra is all in all. Gayatri is called Sandhya, for Sandhya, 3 times purification, 3 times a day. If you are Brahmin, if you are gotten the Brahmin Diksha, and you are actually serving the Lord, then you have to remember the Lord, purify yourself by chanting Gayatri 3 times a day. Otherwise, as it is for purification, we have the Maha Mantra. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a comparison between Gayatri and even the Maha Mantra. He says, Krishna Mantra Highway, Samsara Mochana. Krishna Nama Highway, Paye Govinda Charana. Krishnera Charana. This is a Bengali verse. The meaning is that if you chant Gayatri, you get moksha. But if you chant Hare Krishna Mantra, you get the feet of Krishna. So if I ask you, what do you want? Do you want moksha or you want Krishna Charana? What do you want?
I'll ask Krishna Charan.
So you have to chant the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is it okay, Mataji?
Yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Any other question? Sorry, I want to correct myself. Last Wednesday, I made a bit of mistake. I was talking of 4 stages of sannyas, yeah? And I made a mistake. The Kutichak is the first one, Bahudak is the second one. I think I said Bahudak is the first and Kutichak is the second. Kutichak means first he builds a kuti in the same village, but lives outside the house and the family provides meals. When he leaves the town, it's called Bahudak, outside his hometown. And then Parivegacharya, he travels everywhere to preach. Paramahamsa means he's on the highest level. So that is the correction I wanted to make. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, if there are no questions, we can close down, stop.
Yes, Prabhuji, there are no more questions or comments. I'll hand over to Pat Prabhu. Pat Prabhu, kindly end the session.
Prabhuji, shall I ask one? Just it's not a question. First, I wanted to say there are many people. When I ask that you read Gita, you read Bhagavatam, and also my generation they usually read Dongre Maharaj Bhagavatam. But now when I'm with ISKCON, I tell others also to read Gita and all, and they all say they are very difficult.
No, they are not difficult.
Most of the ladies and other people, they say, and 1 or 2 ladies said that Sanskrit, no, we can't do it.
Yeah, see, Dongreji Maharaj was a preacher. It's not that we are against Dongreji Maharaj, but in a simple way, he's trying to tell Bhagavatam. And this is how it was printed. But Srila Prabhupada is giving you the original manuscript, verse by verse, Sanskrit translation with the commentary, which is supported or which is actually given by Parampara. So there's a huge difference between Dongreji Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada's contribution of his literature in the form of all the books, not just Bhagavatam, including Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Besides that, more than 70 other books, more than 70 books. So we cannot make a comparison. Though the Sanskrit is difficult, Srila Prabhupada says, if you repeatedly hear it, you learn it. I can give you my example. I am born in Kenya. I know nothing about Hindi, nor do I know anything about Sanskrit. Impossible. But by reading and hearing daily, I can speak a bit of Sanskrit. And at least if someone speaks a word, I can tell you the meaning of it, if not exact. It's mercy of Prabhupada. And so Prabhupada is right. He says, you may not know the words, but repeatedly if you hear the words, you will know. Just like today, I was visited by a very young girl. She's only about 19 years old. Now she spoke a verse which she had heard 3 years ago. So I asked her, where did you learn this verse? She said, I heard this in a lecture here in your temple. And she spoke the verse which even I had forgotten. So when she spoke the verse, I saw the English. It was a very powerful verse. And even before speaking, she had already sent it on my WhatsApp. So it's not that you can't know Sanskrit. You will know Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the mother language of all the languages. So for example, you are Gujarati or Hindi or Punjabi, or does not matter. Even English or Latin, all come from Sanskrit. So Srila Prabhupada said, try to learn whatever you can. Of course, the aim of life is not to become a Sanskrit teacher. The aim of life is to become Krishna devotee. But if you know a bit of Sanskrit, it is useful. Very useful. Is it okay, Mataji?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
To learn anything difficult, there has to be some austerity. But people don't want to do austerity. People want quick results. That's why they find it difficult. If you follow the system, like just this Sunday, I gave the lunchtime class in the temple. And some people say, oh, it's very difficult to wake up in the morning. But I said, that is the system. It will be difficult for first 10 days. 11th day, you'll be okay. So to wake up at 4 o'clock, it is difficult, but it is a part of devotional service. 6 items are very important. Waking up early, taking bath, putting on tilak, putting on clothes, coming to the temple or at your home, opening the altar, speaking the Bhagavati, worshipping the Tulsi, chanting Hare Krishna, and then hearing Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. These are 6 to 7 requirements, a daily requirement, which will keep you healthy in devotional service. Otherwise, you'll become weak. There's a verse of Bhagavatam which supports this statement. They say, ordinary man becomes strong by eating grains. A devotee who refuses to hear Bhagavatam or Krishna Katha becomes weak. There's a verse of Bhagavatam. How much truth is there? So any devotee does not hear Bhagavatam daily or Bhagavad Gita, he'll become weak. He may be very proud. Oh, I'm chanting so many rounds. I'm collecting so much money for the temple. I built 10 temples. I did so much funding. I did this, I did that. What is the use if you don't hear daily? Because we are conditioned souls. We forget. When you read daily, then asam sayam samagram. We just read that verse. What do you call it? What is the Patro? What is the verse? 7th chapter, verse number 1. How does it start? I forget. 7. Yeah. It's just gone off my mind. I know the words. Maya Shakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjan Madashre. Yes, I know.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Then in that word, yeah, asamsayam samagram. As you read, the result is asamsayam yat gnashasi tat shrunu. Shrunu means hear. Again, the word shrunu is there. Shrunu means hear. Without hearing Bhagavatam daily, you become polluted. Even if you are purest of all the people, still you can become polluted. That's why daily hear. Anyone who is speaking Bhagavatam, hear. Anyone seated on the Vyas Ashram, hear from him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada, listen what Prabhupada says. Even if you know few verses, he doesn't say all of it. Few verses. If you remember at least one verse at the time of your death, you are going to Krishna, no doubt. Because you have spoken the whole verse, or you read the whole verse, or just one word of the verse. Very, very, because this is transcendental literature. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Yes, Prabhuji. Just I am adding this one, the live example of His Grace Budakas Prabhuji.
Yeah.
You maybe know everyone in the also. Budakas Prabhuji not learned so much. Even you don't know, commented so nicely, speaking Sanskrit and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, Budakas Prabhuji.
Yes.
I'm surprised how he is reading the Sanskrit, but he's
not reading. He remembers also so many verses.
Yeah, so many verses.
And he can explain in detail so nicely.
So nice. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So that is the proof of the verse. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. Dadami buddhi yogamtam. And the other verse is Tesham evanukamfartam. Aham ajnanam tama. Na shami atma bhavastu jnana deepena bhashuta. The verse number, I think, 11 in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I sit in the heart of my devotee and remove the darkness born of ignorance by lighting the lamp of knowledge. Very true. That's why Srila Prabhupada says, if someone is a devotee, he cannot be a fool. He is a learned person. That means he is already learned. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your nice class. I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of His Grace Rukma Prabhuji. Please join, devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare
Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha kalpa Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Rukma Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.